Remodeling show presented by Smith, Cole, Stucco, and Stone is January 30th through February 1st at U.S. Bank Stadium. Plan your visit and save on tickets at MinneapolisHomeandRemodelingsShow.com.
It's a couple 13-14 pastime comedies, 10 to be. The legendary one, Mark Rosen, joins us now in studio here.
Good afternoon, Skinny.
Yeah, I am skinny.
I know. Look at the healthy lunch you're having. My God.
Turkey chili.
Yeah.
Turkey and black bean chili with 8 ounces measured.
Right.
Though I'm at the point now where I don't really need to
Just
measure
maintenance.
anything. But I mean, I've been in maintenance for a couple of months now, but what I mean is like, I can just eye it up now because I've done it so often. I kind of know how much, 8 or 10 ounces, whatever. Vegetables,
broccoli
and cauliflower mix.
Yeah.
Then I eat an avocado almost every day.
I know. It's the best.
They're terrific and they're a good healthy fat. And then I eat a lot of berries. That's my dessert.
Yeah. But you eat 3 meals a day, right?
No,
you eat breakfast? You don't eat breakfast?
No, I don't eat breakfast. I'm a.
God, I just don't know. I can't do that.
I'm a firm believer in what do they call it? Intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I understand that, but normally, it depends on to each their own. A lot of people eat at breakfast and skip the lunch and go into dinner. I just have to have, I had a banana and whatever I had this morning, but I love oatmeal.
I've not eaten anything since.
Man, I don't know how you do it.
7:30 last night.
Yeah. Wow. It's just, my brain would just, I can't function if I can't hit.
You must not have eaten breakfast then today, huh?
No,
Hey-o!
That's good stuff.
Thank you. I thought you'd think so. So let me give you this one. Tana B sent this to me today. Being that you reside in the Lexus seats oftentimes, you like this Wolves Club. And this one says, this is a NBA Central at the Dunk Central. Says, Giannis Antetokounmpo is very interested in teaming up with Anthony Edwards. This is per at the Stein line and at Jake L. Fisher. Here's what it says. League sources say that the prospect of teaming up with Anthony Edwards holds strong appeal for Antetokounmpo, which led to some notable back-channel discussions in recent months that lend true legitimacy to Minnesota's status as a potential landing spot, despite the undeniable obstacles that the Timberwolves would face. Couple of questions for you. First of all, would you like to see, depending on the circumstances, but just this question, would you like to see Antetokounmpo in a Timberwolves uniform?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how can you say no? I mean, there's always a concern of late. He's had, I don't know, these, for lack of a better term, these soft tissue injuries, and he's obviously sturdy as a brick wall and everything else. But, the wear and tear on big men in particular, that's why I'm even concerned, as good as phenomenal as Wemby is, that's a concern. And I think Gobert might be out tonight. He's been really durable. But of course I'd want to see him. I mean, this is a superstar, and he's only, 31? You guys were talking about yesterday. Is he 31? Yeah, I mean, whether or not the Wolves can put together the type of personnel package, they don't have the draft picks. I mean, that's why Golden State has been mentioned a number of times, maybe the leading contender, because they can send multiple first-rounders to Milwaukee. They have 2026, 28, 32 unprotected, 2030 unprotected if it falls between 1 and 20. They also have young players to ship over there. But there's going to be a lot of competition. I mean, Miami's in the mix and the Wolves. I mean, there's smoke there. I mean, there definitely is. I mean, the Wolves are the surprise team, I think, when you talk about contenders. And, whether it takes a combination of Jaden McDaniel, Julius Randle, I don't know, Rob Dillingham is kind of a throw-in, maybe another future draft pick, but they don't really have much. I wouldn't put any, Tim Conley's a pretty shrewd guy. He knows how to, move the pieces around the board pretty well. And apparently Giannis has said that, he would certainly be open to coming here and playing with Ant. I mean, I think a lot of people would. It's intriguing, and I think it'll be disappointing now if it doesn't happen by Monday. I think Monday afternoon's a trading deadline, and the Wolves still may make a different type of deal, but it won't be the splash that this would be. Seismic move for any team, and you can just imagine what that potential would be to unlock and maybe immediately put the Wolves in the conversation. They're a contending team. They've been in the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years, but I think everyone recognizes they need something to kind of put them over the top a little bit, and obviously this one would definitely shake the tree. And I hate that. Randall's been playing probably the best basketball of his career. Jaden McDaniels is a terrific player, getting better and better all the time. But in order to land someone obviously like Giannis, you got to give up quite a bit. And the Wolves, what the Wolves really have, is just play really top notch players. They don't have the draft capital.
And that would be my next question. Would be, well, first of all, I mean, I guess you are saying you think there might be some validity to this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think there's just too much. Whatever your source is, the Mark Steins and these, there's a guy named Jake Fisher. There's all. You follow any site that you want. Pretty much all of them are saying Minnesota's in the mix, and I just read, the Sports Illustrated one. Timberwolves reportedly a contender to acquire Giannis. Now, again, he doesn't have to sign off on it, but I do think that.
Well, if you believe what he said, what he said in this piece, he would be interested.
Yes.
It's not like he would please do not send me there.
Right, correct.
Like he would he would like to, as a matter of fact.
He's 31. I mean, I think, and people have said, conservatively, he's still a top 10 player in the NBA, and he's beloved in Wisconsin. I mean, that's the thing. He's already playing in the Midwest.
We have the greatest fans, though, in the world.
Two-time MVP.
Sport, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to. I mean, the Wolves would have to pretty much empty the roster to get him. But are you willing to take that chance? Are you willing to say this is the guy? Stays on the court, along with Ant and Dante and the Berenger. I don't think Gobert would be going anywhere. You'd have. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how you pair Gobert and the Greek Freak together. I mean, that's quite a. You used to have the Twin Towers in Houston. I don't know how that works.
Well, we had Twin Towers here with Bodega Cat and Gobert.
Well, yeah, you're right. They could play different. We all know Gobert is a defensive specialist, and Giannis can fill up a box score. But I mean, it is at the point now where it's gone from not even hearing anything about the Wolves, and we're even quite sure if Giannis is going to be moved, but he's sort of signed off on it now, and Milwaukee's not going anywhere. They need a refresh, a reboot, and
all right. So let me throw this at you.
Yeah.
Let's say Milwaukee makes the call and says Antetokounmpo for Dillingham, Shannon, Jaden, and Julius. Would you do that?
Yes.
You would?
Yes. Yeah, I would. Because. And that's a lot of capital. I don't think, Shannon's been hurt a lot and really not shown much.
Well, the Shannon and the Dillingham are just extra pieces.
No, I understand that. Yeah. I think because we're seeing, forgetting, Randall and McDaniel are obviously the two big pieces that would have to go, I think, in terms of getting Giannis. I think because we're seeing Bones Highland making a little bit more of an impact, and I even heard Johnny Athletic talking about it.
You like Bones, don't you?
Well, I think the players like him, his teammates like him. He's got. I mean, watching, and I know they play OKC tonight, and it's going to be who's healthy, who's playing for both teams, and at least SGA is playing for Oklahoma City, which is the reason to watch them. They get some other, I think, 3 starters out, but Bones has been, I think, suggested he may be the first guy off the bench now. He's got that flash. Shannon has that extra gear. He's just, too raw still, and he's been hurt, unfortunately, for the last, seems like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. But Bones has given him a little more energy. So I think he's a little bit, obviously, Dillingham and Shannon, or Dillingham has been, I don't know, in the doghouse or whatever. He just doesn't see the court. I don't think Finch trusts him, obviously, right now. But Shannon is another guy, like, okay, I mean, he's got some flashes here and there, but I think because Bones Highland has kind of emerged as someone who gives him some instant offense, And I don't want to. I mean, both Randall but in particular Jaden McDaniels to me is a when he gets engaged when he's engaged in the game, he's terrific. He's really good on both ends when he wants to be. But I think you're getting a player like that. I mean, what are you going to give up? I mean, you're not. Those are the pieces they have to trade, and that's what it would take to get a guy of the caliber of Giannis. So. It'll be fun, but it's Thursday today, and these things potentially would drag out till Monday. But I think Minnesota has. We've seen what happened. We've seen what happens with Tim Connolly, and the guy over in St. Paul, Bill Guerin. I mean, he pulled off the Hughes trade. I mean that was just a stroke of genius, and I mean to get a player of that caliber. So we know that these guys are capable of making that happen. We know that Connolly is certainly capable of making that happen. But you got to it takes two to tango, and whether or not that's going to be enough, because there's going to be a lot of suitors for him. As I mentioned, Golden State. It depends what Milwaukee's appetite is right now. It doesn't seem like they're in a win-now situation, and those draft picks could be very appealing. But as we know, what do the draft picks really mean? I mean, in the NBA in particular right now, I don't know if there's going to be franchise-type players coming out every year. I mean, following the college game is really tough these days, not just because of the transfer portal, but and there doesn't seem to be that 3 or 4. There's not 3-year players, that's for sure. And you don't have those superstars just dropping into the draft every year. So those draft picks may not mean as much as getting an established players like a Jaden McDaniel and a Julius Randle. I mean, they just probably don't, because there's no sure thing with them at all. Well, it would be fun.
Do you think the Wolves can win an NBA championship if they stay on pat?
I mean, they could. I still think in order to compete next April, May, I think they need help at the guard position. I think they need to make a change of some sort. I don't know who that player is going to be, but they can. But I think it's going to be a lot more difficult right now.
We'll take a break. Maybe it might take some more cash. So if somebody with the Wolves is listening, maybe we could put $1,000 in their hand. Maybe what do you?
That'll do it.
Yeah. A-Rod, Mark Lowry, listen up. The Fan wants to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword credit at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. The keyword is credit. Enter now at KFAN.com. Chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program. Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Brian text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
What's the name of this one, Tennessee? I kind of like this feel.
Drive to Thrive.
Drive to Thrive. It's what I do. It's what Tennessee does. It's what Mark Rosen does each and every day. A couple 13, 14 pastime columns. Tennessee have a talk back that I want to listen to here. You ready?
Yes.
Let's play a little guessing game. What do you say? I'm going to give you some clues. You tell me who I am. Roosevelt, swim team, Navy SEAL, Vietnam, Mekong Delta, wrestling, Mean Gene, McMahon, governor, Baja Peninsula, Constitution. Those are your clues. Now guess who I am.
Let me tell you something. You don't know what it's like to be me. That's
I've been
good.
waiting to hear from. What do you mean it's good?
You're calling me a coward?
Yeah.
It is Ventura.
Absolutely was Ventura. Jesse. I miss him. Well, I ran into him not that long ago, but when I was
Bell. Thank you.
When I was at CCO, he'd walk in there. He'd be doing one of those national, and we had the satellite center down there, so if he'd be doing a national interview with one of the networks, he'd come looking for me in the newsroom to espouse around one of his conspiracy theories about the babushka lady or something,
The last time I saw him was 2 years ago at Vikings training camp. He was leaving. Mm-hmm. It was just before 1 o'clock, and he had been a guest. He was leaving. We see him. We bring him up.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know, quarter to 1. So we got, got 10 minutes we can go. Wait, it took him 10 minutes to answer the first question.
Of course it did.
And I'm trying to, as times I'm going, okay, Jesse, and another thing, Carmen. And all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock. It's 1:05. It's 1:10. Finally, I just had to cut him off.
Take a break.
But, I've always enjoyed the governor.
Well, yeah, I mean, for lots of reasons. There's so much. No, there's a documentary that could be made. I still wish they could, from the time he was hosting show
you could
here.
play him because you're stronger now at 74 than you were at 45.
We're the same age, yeah. But the whole, process of, I remember seeing him at the state fair that August of the election, and he's, walking around in his Zubas, and I remember saying, Jesse, what are you doing? Trying to, shake up the tree a little bit. I don't think, and he knew he wasn't going to win, but he was just having, he had to drop out of the show, obviously, and that was the end of that as far as his radio. But he expected.
You don't think he thought he would win?
No. I mean, he may have gotten signals the last week, 2 weeks, when you get those advanced sort of polls looking like. But I don't. That's what I'm saying. I would love to see a true kind of documentary about the weeks, the campaign leading up to it, because it's really, I mean, it inspired Schwarzenegger. Obviously became governor of California, and this whole thing, and then I thought his first term he was engaged. I just don't think he cared to be around a lot of meetings and wearing a tie up most of the time, and then he just kind of blamed the media jackals for.
I thought he did a great job.
He did the first term. I thought he was.
Well, he only had one term.
Well, I mean, the first term. I mean, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes, but I think in order for him to...
He decided not to run.
Because...
I think he would have run in re-election. I think
he may have. Yeah. I mean, it was a crazy time here. 98. It was the night... I remember his inauguration was the night before the Vikings-Falcons NFC Championship.
Oh, was it really?
I remember going home. My son was playing a soccer game. I picked him up, indoor soccer, because obviously it was January. And then I went home and I was watching Jesse's inauguration. He had the feathered boa around his neck, and he was wearing Viking colors, and he was talking about the championship game the next day, and everyone was having a big party.
I think the statute of limitations is a pass, so this won't get Ventura in any hot water.
Sure.
But after he won the election, shortly thereafter, he held a luncheon in the governor's mansion for media members that didn't turn on him, that didn't mock and ridicule him, and there weren't many of us.
There were a few.
But it was, and the reason he didn't want us to say anything, because he wasn't, I think, supposed to have this kind of, he's the governor, you think he could do whatever he wants, but just kind of keep this under your hat. It was me, Lee Balsvik, from Cool 108. I think it was a couple of people from KSTP radio. I think it might have been Mishke might have been there, I think.
Oh, wow.
From KSTP.
Yeah.
I don't remember. There were like 8 or 10 of us. And it was so much fun because you're there and it's all, the white tablecloths with the napkins and Ventura's holding court. And it was a lot of fun. So, governor.
Man. Those were the days.
Those were the days. Your Gopher Club gave Wisconsin everything they wanted for, they were up 10. Did you say it was like 18 at the half, 20 at one point, 18 at the half. They were ahead Nebraska by 6 at the half. And you never felt safe with that, because Nebraska is the 20th ranked or 7th ranked team in the country, 20-0. Yeah. And so at the time you're like, well, there was no shame in losing. It was kind of tough that they were up 6 and lost by 25, but the Wisconsin is a good club. They're not, a great team, and they might be trending that direction. I don't know, because they beat Michigan. They upset Michigan. So there's some talent there. But that's kind of disheartening, I got to think. Now they were missing their leading score, but still, when you're up that many on Wisconsin on the road and don't bring home a win, that's got to be pretty
Well, that's
tough.
the thing. They got themselves in a position in that first half, even though they're missing their top scorer, and they're already thin, as we know, missing 2 starters, with season-long injuries. I'm saying they're snake bit, but they just cannot finish. And I'm sure for Nico Medved, it's extremely frustrating. I still think there's you can rally around, his first season and having these injuries, which have been crippling for a team that's just sort of starting to find itself and find its footing. I've enjoyed, as I mentioned more than a couple times, the style of play. I thought they have great ball movement on offense for the most part, but they get stuck and they don't have the finishing kick, as they say, and maybe that's going to take obviously added personnel and getting, some nil money and that, get some, it takes, you get 2 players, top players, you can change your whole program around. It's so weird to watch. I saw the end of the highlights, at least of Nebraska, losing its first game to Michigan the other night.
By 3
and it's
on
just,
the road.
Yeah. But it's just so weird that, for years and years, decades, it's, Indiana was always the basketball school with Bobby Knight. Nebraska was always the football school with the assortment of coaches that they've had with Tom Osborne and going, et cetera, et cetera. Now, all of a sudden, Indiana's a football school and Nebraska's a basketball school. And I hope that, obviously they're going to make a run. Hopefully they make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. I'd love to see them win.
You would?
Freddie Hoiberg. Come on. I mean, you're one of my favorite people I've ever been around. Coaches, players, anything. Yeah. I mean, I root for an individual. I don't care about the school that much, but yeah, why wouldn't I?
Well,
I wanted Indiana to win the football championship.
You did?
Over Miami? Yes.
Well, you said you root for individuals. What individual? Signetti?
Well, no, I mean, I think because of the team. I like Signetti, but
because you just said you root for individuals, not the team.
Not just, okay, in this case, I think it's a combination.
Oh, okay.
I mean, not having the kind of success you associate with because I think what it does is also signals what is possible. I mean, it's still, and I'm not saying Nico Medved is going to turn it around in one season, one recruiting class. I'm not sure even he has coming in next year. And a lot of it will be transfer portal, as it always is. But having a Nebraska have this kind of a season, and much the way that Indiana's football success does give teams that normally would never have a chance of even getting into the conversation, an opportunity that they have to take advantage of with getting the right personnel. Look, colleges are now professional leagues. This is what we're dealing with for the most part. Now, a lot of those guys aren't going to be professional players. I mean, I was reading this story about Coy Pirich, and Flex said, I knew he was gone like mid-season. I think he got $2 million to go to Oregon. Well, who's going to say no to that? I mean, it's crazy.
You only say no if another school says we got 3.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm rooting for partly for Hoiberg just because he was one of us, and I just like the way he approaches the game.
Yes,
but more than
100%.
Anything, it's because I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in Nebraska.
You've contributed to his salary.
I have a reason to want them to win. We'll break. We'll come back. One last segment to go. It's Common, 10 and B, and Mark Rosen right here on the Fan.
Box is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com.
Couple 13-14 past. I'm Common. He's 10 and B. Mark Rosen is here as well. Last segment. A couple of questions have come for you, courtesy of the Bradshaw Bryant KFAN text line. This one says, how many years does it take before Indiana is a, quote, football school? What do you think it'll take? I mean, they've won a national championship. Are they now a football school? Do they need another natty? Just an extended run of success? What do you think would make them?
What's your last statement? Extended run of success. I don't expect, it's really, I'm not saying far-fetched, but to expect them to repeat as national champs is asking a lot. Obviously, you're going to have a new quarterback next year, and offensive line that I don't know how many of those guys are leaving or going pro, but I assume a number of them. I would take that starting center, the Vikings, right now. So I mean, it's always hard because of what we've just talked about. I think they're going to be well established. I'm sure that they've gotten a pretty good pipeline already because of the success they've had this year. That people, the players are already all of a sudden looking at them. They got the financial means. I don't know much more Mark Cuban is donating.
You like this Indiana club.
Well, I mean, it was a great story. And to have it duplicated, I think what we're going to see is probably a lot more Indianas emerging in the future that, been kind of laying in the weeds. We're so used to having the usual suspects year after year after year in the top 5, top 10. Certainly in the Big Ten we have been. We know that, but I think all that's changing. So yeah, I think Indiana will be in the mix for years to come. And the Gophers, I know, play at Indiana next year. They are on their schedule next year. But yeah, I expect them to be obviously a high quality team, but to suspect that they're going to repeat. I mean, I don't think you have to repeat to be a established, really good football program. I think that'll be just the start of it right now. They actually started the year before.
Listening to Rosen talk, you would think Ventura's dead. He's alive and doing well. Why doesn't he reach out and invite him to a Timberwolves game? Get those courtside seats. Jesse, after all, was a long-time season ticket holder through the lean years. He wasn't a fair weather fan who just started going to games the last couple of years.
Who's that?
Me? Yeah.
Do you know how many seasons I sat through over there?
Well, as a media member, but not as a fan. You didn't go to those games as a fan like you are now, courtside seats.
Well, I didn't know anybody. That's why. And I never got an invite. Never sat courtside.
Well, those tickets are available to anybody.
Well, they are. You can pay for them.
Well, yeah. Oh, so you weren't willing to do that, were you?
No, I just didn't care to. I spent plenty of buckos to sit in, good seats, but not courtside. Yeah,
I'm sure Charlie would let you and Ventura sit courtside.
I'm sure he'd love
together.
it. I don't know. Do you have Jesse's number?
Jesse?
You have Jesse's number? I don't have his number. I don't have his cell phone.
I had his home phone number, but that was 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a cell phone because he doesn't want the government tracking.
Oh, I'm aware of that. Yeah, he's very paranoid about all that stuff.
So,
flying.
But I think maybe we should have, I'll put out...
put out the bat signal.
I got some feelers, and I'll get Jesse to get a hold of it.
My favorite, when I obviously media member, and this is the KG era, and Jesse would at halftime would go back, where the locker room area is right there, and he'd stand there, and Kirby was, Puckett was there. It was really, the stars were out, Jimmy Jam, and Jesse would be back there, and he'd have his seats. His seats were kind of behind the basket, maybe 10 rows up, good seats. But he'd go back and just hold court at halftime, and then KG would have his head down because he didn't like to make eye contact with anybody during the course of the game. But he'd always see Jesse out of the corner of his eye, so he'd give him a little fist pump when he'd be going back on the court. But Jesse would just be holding court about everything, and that'd be our, instead of the halftime show, whatever they had, we would just go back and listen to Jesse entertain all of us for 10, 15 minutes before the game started again.
He is one of a kind.
Yeah. He definitely is.
I'm a big I like looking at power rankings. I like Tennessee State's anytime. Well, not every time we do it, but he stated a number of occasions. The real power rankings are the standings, and I get that because that is really the truth. When you see them, sometimes they'll have. They might have the Rams over, let's just say, the Patriots, but the Patriots have a better record than the Rams. But people just, and you can't analyze teams because it can be different. You are what you are with your record, but if you were top heavy with other really good teams and the other team is playing a soft record, you get what I'm trying to say. But I thought with baseball,
oh boy,
before the season started, this is after free agency and such. You got to scroll down a while to get to the Twins. Obviously.
No. Who do you think? Carpal tunnel by the time we get to them.
Who do you? Wow. Who do you think?
Last?
No, first.
Oh, it's the Dodgers.
Correct.
Of course.
Dodgers are number one.
$18 billion on their payroll. That's why we're going to have a lockout.
Who do you think they
year.
have as the number 2 best team in Major League Baseball?
Oh, it's got to be. The first thing comes to mind is the Yankees, but it might be.
They're at number 5.
Wow.
You admired them. Same size.
Toronto.
They're at
Milwaukee.
They're at 3. Milwaukee at 2.
Okay.
Blue Jays at 3.
No.
And
Philly?
No, a team from your favorite city, one of your favorite cities, and it ain't the White Sox.
Cubs. No, I know it wouldn't be the White Sox. The Cubs, really? Huh.
Then it's Yankees at 5, Braves, Mariners, Red Sox, Mets.
The Yankees have dropped, man.
And Phillies at 10.
Okay.
Of the 30 teams in Major League Baseball, where do you think Minnesota is? How many, where do you think they are?
28th.
They're high. You're not giving this club any respect. They're higher than that. Not much.
Are they really?
They're at 26.
Oh, well, that wasn't too far off. I mean,
Angels at 27.
Yeah, what happened to that franchise? Man.
White Sox at 28. The Nats at 29 and the Rockies at 30.
Yeah, the Rockies they still draw like crazy because, it's just, I think people in Colorado, they just love going to that ballpark and they support them.
I think the same here in Minnesota. They don't go as much, but people go just.
No, I don't think they come. Yeah, I don't think the Twins can.
No,
match.
but I mean the people that do go to Twins, a lot of them are just the younger crowd that likes hanging out and having craft beers.
I enjoy going to the games. I do, but I don't. I'll try to find when Lopez or Ryan are pitching, but
the Rockies.
Oh man,
were 43 and 119 last year. And how long ago was it? Have they won a World Series? They've been to one, haven't they? I mean, it wasn't
they
even
had a hell of a run.
It wasn't even that long ago, was it? I don't know.
Have to look it up.
Jenna, can you look up Colorado Rockies season by season and just see when the last time they were good? Because obviously last year, that's as bad a record as that's almost the worst record in the history of Major League Baseball. 43 and 119 since the advent of the 162 game season. But
that's a big
and the Nats, think of this. The Nats are ranked at 29, and they also had a nice run when they had a Strasburg and the other cat. Well, what's interesting is
they made the World Series in 2007.
So it's been a little longer.
Lost the Red Sox, but they've only made 5 postseason appearances.
Okay. So they
got everything else is going well for Colorado sports teams, so I'm not going to feel too bad for them.
But you look at this, and 43 and 119 was the worst record. Rockies. The Nationals were next. They were 66 and 96. So that's 23 games better than the worst record in Major League Baseball. And then if you're like me, and it's probably good that you're not, I always hearken back to 2008 when the Kitties. They lost to Tennessee by like 43-6 or something. And they were 0-10. Then a light bulb went off on me, and I said, we could go 0-16. The only team to ever do it. So I actually rooted against the Kitties. Because it's like, what's the difference, right? Some people think that's blasphemy. You can't root against your favorite team. If I was a Colorado fan, I'd have been doing the same thing. It's like, let's see if we can get, because my slogan is, if you can't be historically good, you may as well be biblically bad. They were approaching biblically bad last year. And I can't remember. I think historically the Cleveland Spiders.
We talked about them a lot.
Yeah, had the worst record in the history of Major League Baseball. I don't remember what that was, but
I wish there was a baseball cap of the Cleveland Spiders. Maybe there is. I don't know.
I'd like to get one. That'd be cool. But that's as bad as the Twins have been and look to be. Man, what's it like to be an Angels, White Sox, Nationals, or Rockies fan?
You think of the Angels, obviously in the California market. They're not in Los Angeles. They're in Anaheim. But I remember, going back to the year when Ortiz was still on the Twins, and the Twins played the Angels in that playoff series, and the Twins lost. But it was a very competitive series. And right after that season is when they traded Ortiz to the Red Sox, and the rest is Cooperstown history, as we say. But Angels were always good. Mike Scioscia, the manager, and the players they had, and then they acquired. They were right up there. They were competing with the Dodgers and the Giants, and the A's they were already past their kind of glory years, but they were still, as we know, for years the Twins and A's were hammering it out with Tom Kelly and Tony La Russa, going back and forth. And then they just fell off the face of the earth, and now they're an afterthought. But it's been a slow but really long decline for the Angels franchise with Mike Trout. Look at one of the generational type players like they had with Mike Trout, and they just haven't been able to take advantage of that market.
This text message says, in my opinion, Indiana is an example of what's wrong with college football. Nil and Portal have ruined college football. Suddenly they are powerhouse. It's all about the money.
Well, wait a minute. But I think that you're underestimating what coaching is. They didn't recruit. At least everything I've heard, a lot of those players when they came to Indiana were not the 4 or 5 star all-stars. They were 2 and 3 star guys.
13 of the players were from James Madison.
Right. So
like 13 players are from where he was coaching last. And let's face it, none of those guys from James Madison, Michigan, and weren't knocking down the door.
No,
together.
that's what I'm saying. That's a good point. I mean, they're from James Madison. They weren't from. They didn't. These were not players that, as you just mentioned, the Blue Bloods were after. So it's not just about a matter of just writing checks out to these guys. They had to find the right players. And Cignetti found the right players, and he knew what he had.
Money is a big part. Nobody would deny that.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And that's just the way it's a profession. We're talking about professionals for the most part now, and that's the way the game is played. But they weren't, I think if you matched up recruiting classes between Ohio State and Indiana, it would be no contest in terms of which had the 4 or 5 star guys on their labels before they got to college. And that's just it. The big thing is getting guys that you feel they can, they're 18 years old and going, well, in 2-3 years, he's going to be kind of the equivalent of a 4-star guy. We'll coach him up. We feel we can. And that's what they've done at Indiana. Along with, obviously, they were able to get some big transfers and write out a few checks, but it wasn't just all that.
And the other side of this is, I mean, I can make an argument for what he's saying, certainly, but at the same time, the way it used to be, that meant that the NCAA and all these colleges were getting enriched, and the networks, the TV networks especially. That's the whole gist of this. It's like, well, wait now. You're making all this money. I mean, all your promos on TV, they show the star quarterback for Alabama. Right. He's the one that's generating viewership. As the guys in the field, it's not anything else. It's not the university itself. So why shouldn't they share in those proceeds? And for years it was because you're an amateur and you get a scholarship. And I think what they've done is, I mean, I agree that they should be paid. I'm sorry, I just agree with that. How much that should be and whatever. So to me, yes, you're right, that does. But then the other thing is, before NIL and before they had the pool of money you could have, and everybody gets $20 million a year or 20 and a half, whatever it is. We know that there has always over the years been money under the table. Hey kid, I'll give you a Cadillac to drive at a couple grand a month if you want to come. You're right. I don't know how rampant that was up until they changed this, if it was still, or was it just schools got to the point where you became so good that if you were Alabama or any of the helmet schools, that's why the best players went, because they wanted to go to the bigger schools. So
definitely a combination. I think there's no doubt that the aggressive donors and alumni at some of those helmet schools found ways to funnel money to some of those top athletes. I mean, I even heard stories way back when John Wooden was coaching and winning national championships year after year after year. He had what the so-called bag man that he had hidden in the weeds that was making sure that a lot of those top players that came to UCLA were getting paid. And they never got caught. John Wooden was as squeaky clean as they could get. You could never trace it back to him. And he had his pyramid of success, and he was the best. He was John Wooden. So I mean, there's always these stories, and go back to Michigan. I remember hearing stuff with the Gophers. They were trying to get, I think the player's name was Kazzie Russell, who would end up being a really great player. Mm-hmm. And the Gophers were closing in on him. And, again, the story goes, as legend goes, Michigan opened up the briefcase. And here you are, Kazzie. Whatever the amount was, that was enough to convince him to go to the Wolverines. So I mean, those stories have been going on forever. At least now it's out in the open.
And speaking of college football and the portal and transfers and all of that, another CBS Sports List story. And Tennessee List Radio is what kind of radio?
Lazy radio.
And I'm the king at that. They list it says college football's top 100 transfer portal players for 2026, where they're headed and why they matter. And as I just scrolled through all 100, as we were discussing there, Randy Johnson, who writes Gopher Football for Fish Wrap Factory West Side, did kind of a recap. I think the Gophers have 19 new players to the transferred portal. And he said, filling some needs and this and that and the other thing. My question to that was, well, because you're filling needs, because you need a safety or you need a lineman, but how good are those? Well, you've plugged a guy in, but how good is he? And a look at this list, Minnesota's only mentioned once in the top 100, and it's for a subtraction rather than an addition. And we know which subtraction that is. You mentioned his name moments ago. It was Koi Parrish. So we lost. He was ranked number 12 on this list, and he went to Oregon. Not one of the players on this list is listed in the additions for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And that's not to say the Gophers are a bad team or whatever, just how far behind and most of these schools are your big time schools. I mean, you start right at the top. It's the very Sam Levitt, quarterback, was at Arizona State. Right. He's now with LSU. Of course. And the next one is Texas Tech gets a player. Then Oklahoma State gets a player. LSU. LSU has 3 of the top, and I think, 5 players. And I don't know how recent those portal changes are. Is it all been since Lane Kiffin? Because is that where he took the job? Is it LSU? No, where did he take it? Was it LSU?
Yeah.
So 3 of the top 10, and I'm only down through 5 right now. Let's see if they get anybody else in the top. 3 of the top 10 portal transfers went to Lane Kiffin. LSU already has. I mean, I'm not saying hand the NCAA trophy to him now, but if you got a quarterback of that ilk and a couple of other players, and then they already draw in players. I mean, it's the rich get richer.
Yeah, in many cases, that's again circles back to what Indiana was able to do. But it is, especially when teams like football schools like LSU don't accomplish their goals. Well, then the alumni and they just either, number one, they'll fire the coach, or they'll rally around and they'll just pony up even more to get exactly the kind of players you just referred to. That's what it takes to get those guys. And it's not to suggest that because flex class isn't listed in there that those guys can't be. No, we understand that. But until proven otherwise, and at least they were able to keep the quarterback, that was very, very important. That he's sticking around and he's got some promise to, I think be better than good. But, you got to have the right people. You got to have the right offensive linemen to protect them. As we saw with Indiana, those guys were.
According to this list, LSU also had number 21, number 40, number 55, number 59. Let's see. Keep going. Maybe they stopped at 59, because if you can't crack the top 60, we're not interested in that. LSU has 79. They
got a higher payroll than the Twins.
Well, they do.
Not even close.
Let's see if they have any more before we get to 100. They have 96. So I don't know how many that was. That's 13, 14 players, or at least 10 of the top 100.
Amazing.
Have gone to LSU. Well, they need a lot of help there, Mark.
Yeah, they're struggling. So they haven't had much success there. Maybe Justin Jefferson will go back and get another year of eligibility. And hey, I was going to throw in a plug for. I had a chance to do a podcast today, and I know even people might have fatigue from Miracle on Ice, but there's a new documentary coming out on Netflix tomorrow night.
No way.
I'll be watching it.
Boys of 80, and I had a chance to sit down with Rob McClanahan today, who scored the game-winning goal against Finland, the gold medal game. That wasn't quite as dramatic as the Ruzioni goal against the Soviet Union, but we had a great conversation.
It's an Olympic game that I don't think is getting enough attention.
Well, I mean, it's just this is footage people have never seen before, and again, you have to be. If you remember, I mean, it's a whole generation that wasn't born. I mean, this is 46 years ago now. I can't believe we were talking at length about it, but they brought a lot of the guys back to Lake Placid and recorded their thoughts on it. And one of the most interesting little tidbits, which has nothing to do with the actual documentary, but we were talking about the movie Miracle, and for many of you listening have obviously seen it. And Kurt Russell did such a great job of portraying Herb Brooks. He worked so hard at Tanner. You'd probably be interested in this. Herb Brooks wrote left-handed. He was a lefty, and Kurt Russell's right-handed, and he taught himself how to write left-handed.
Oh, come on.
He did, because I remember he wrote this when he's writing the speech in his office before he walks into the locker room. Would anybody have noticed,
though? And it is just a movie.
He was just particular about details. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I'm anxious to see it tomorrow night. And
I guess I'm going
to introduce my boys to it, so I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear that.
And I guess I can relate to that, because I've always worked really hard at everything I've done. Hey,
anyway.
We'll see you.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend, Timmy. Thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
Giannis will be a Timberwolf by the time I come back next week.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Great job. Yes, enjoyed our visit. We'll see you tomorrow. Big Ticket JG. They're next here on The Fan.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Minnesota!
Folks, and good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Welcome back to the spotlight, young man.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.